This is the Qtv Nightly News, which is also on Q Radio 103.3 FM. I am Jacqueline Coley. Thank you for joining us. Here are the headlines. President Barrow today welcomed Senegal President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, who was in Banjul on a day-long working visit. Almost no details emerge about the exact purpose of the visit, and details of discussions between the two leaders remained undisclosed. Gambian pilgrims have performed the Hajj Tawaf in Mecca, marking the conclusion of the 2026 Hajj. His Excellency President Adama Barrow on Friday accepted the resignation of the Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Mahmoud O.A. Cham, with immediate effect. The President has also appointed Major General Usman Gomez as Acting Chief of Defense Staff. In international news, Gambian entrepreneurs have welcomed the new zero-tariff duty-free access for nearly 100% of tariff lines from May 2026. The move benefits 53 African countries with diplomatic ties to China. And in sports news, the Gambia suffered a 3-1 defeat to World Cup-bound Iran in international friendly played in Atlanta, Turkey on Friday. But beyond the results itself, the match has generated plenty of discussion among Gambian football fans, with several key players absent from the squad and coach Jonathan McKinstry openly expressing his frustration afterwards. Those were the headlines, now the news in detail. President Adama Barrow today welcomed Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, who was in Banjul on a day-long working visit. As Alif Cisse reports, few details emerge about the exact purpose of the visit, and details of discussions between the two leaders remained undisclosed.
The President of Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, was received at the airport by his Gambian counterpart, President Adama Barrow, before inspecting a guard of honor reserved for distinguished guest visitors mounted by our fine men and women in uniform. From the airport, the President and his counterpart were driven in a convoy to the Cocoa Ozone in Begilo. From the hotel, Bassirou Diomaye Faye was later received here at the State House by his counterpart, President Adama Barrow, where the two leaders had tete-a-tete. Well, not much is known as far as the purpose of the visit is concerned. But according to the State House, this visit is meant to further strengthen the relationship between Banjul and Dakar. Well, none of the leaders have said anything as to the importance of the visit, but we know Gambia and Senegal share a lot in common. And the President has always emphasized that Senegal remains the strongest development ally to the Gambia, knowing the fact that the two countries are a lot only separated by colonial boundaries. Reporting for Qtv News from State House in Banjul, I am Alif Cisse.
Gambian pilgrims have performed the Hajj Tawaf in Mecca, marking the conclusion of the 2026 Hajj. Babakar Cisse is with Tuawan Travel and Tours, and he filed this report.
The Hajj Tawaf and Operation Touch the Kaaba comes following the completion of the 3-day symbolic stoning of Shaitan ritual in Minna.
We are just getting ready now to go to do Tawaf Ifada, which is part of the Hajj. Alhamdulillah, all the pilgrims that are not able to walk to the Haram and do their own Tawaf, we will arrange wheelchair services for them, inshallah.
Pilgrim Alhaji Babakar Jabang is among those preparing to perform Tawaful Ifada.
We are going for Tawaf 7 times round the Kaaba and 7 times Safa Marwa. That's what we are going to do today, inshallah.
Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan.
After completing the Tawaf, pilgrims continue to the area between the hills of Safa and Marwa.
Okay.
Many pilgrims refreshed themselves with Zamzam water during the ritual. Among them was Pilgrim Dr. Sidi Sanyang.
This is Zamzam water drinking spot in one of the areas of the Marwa
Safa Marwa area, and you can see our pilgrims from our country, our colleagues, they are drinking from it. When you go through the Safa Marwa, you take a break, you drink from it, you continue. It gives you strength, it gives you to recover, and gives you overall health and wisdom.
Hajj expert Seri Morja Masi of Tiawan Travel and Tours led the operation Touch the Kaaba. Makkah is a long way from home, and for many pilgrims, being able to touch the Kaaba brings a deep sense of relief. That is why I always try to give our pilgrims the opportunity to touch the Kaaba. Some people believe that touching the Kaaba is forbidden, but that is not the case. With the completion of Tawaful Ifada, pilgrims have fulfilled the main rites of Hajj. Before leaving Makkah, they will perform Tawaful Wida, the farewell Tawaf, marking their final goodbye to the holy city before beginning their journey home. Babukar Sise, QTV News, Makkatul Mukarram.
His Excellency President Adama Barrow on Friday accepted the resignation of the Chief of Defence Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Mamad O.A. Cham, with immediate effect. The President has also appointed Major General Usman Gomez as Acting Chief of Defence Staff. Usman Jata reports.
In his resignation letter dated Friday 29 May 2026, Lieutenant General Mamad O.A. Cham said he was stepping down following numerous allegations of misconduct and abuse of office, which he said were inconsistent with the responsibilities and integrity of the office of the Chief of Defence Staff. Here is former CDS Lieutenant General Mamad O.A. Cham speaking at one of his last official events before stepping down in April 2026.
It marks the beginning of a new chapter, one which we expect will grow into a fully fledged military academy and a center of excellence.
The steady drip of allegations which are of serious nature have been widely disseminated on social media. The resignation is confirmed in a statement signed by Ibrahim G. Sankare, government spokesperson and presidential diaspora advisor. General Cham expressed gratitude to President Barrow for the trust and confidence reposed in him, culminating in his appointment as the Gambia's 9th Chief of Defence Staff. He also assured the President of his full cooperation and availability for any investigations relating to the allegations. President Barrow has accepted the resignation and, in accordance with powers vested in him under Section 190 of the Constitution, appointed Major General Usman Gomez as Acting Chief of Defence Staff with immediate effect. Until his appointment, Major General Gomez served as Deputy Chief of Defence Staff at the Army Headquarters in Banjul. This was his speech during a national tour by the previous CDS Lieutenant General Drame in June 2021.
They've talked good about you, and that is what your civil-military relationship with them. It is very cordial. They praise you. And why do they praise you? Because of the cooperation that you have with them. This is what we are looking for. The civilians are not our enemies, they are our friends.
He is regarded as an experienced military commander with expertise in conflict management, law, risk assessment, and security. He also holds a Master of Arts degree in Peace Studies and Conflict Resolution from the International Christian University. Lieutenant General Mamad O.A. Cham was appointed Chief of Defence Staff in 2023 following the retirement of Lieutenant General Yakubu Drame, who served as the country's chief for 3 years before retiring after nearly 39 years of service in the armed forces. Osman Jata, QTV News.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have more national and international news stories. Do stay tuned. Welcome back, and this is Qtv News, and I'm Jacqueline Collie. Here are the rest of tonight's stories. Women oyster harvesters along the Halahin River in the coastal village of Katong are giving new life to discarded oyster curry and she shells, transforming them into beads, earrings, and other handmade products used for decoration and everyday living. Julden Jai engaged the women involved in the production, and she now reports.
I am at the Halahin River, and here nothing goes to waste. Women make use of all the products in the river. These are cowrie shells and oyster shells here that women use to make earrings, key holders. They also make a lot of beads for women to use, and of course necklaces. The list goes on. Before now, the shells were treated as waste. After harvesting oysters from the mangroves along the Halahin River, the women boiled the oysters, removed the meat, and threw the shells away without knowing they could be used for something else. Today, those same shells are helping women earn extra income. Sandaga Demba, one of the oyster makers, explains how life used to be before this initiative.
Previously, after removing the oysters, we used to throw the oyster and sea shells away. So, FAO intervened, and they trained the women oyster farmers and taught us that the oyster and cowrie and sea shells can actually be recycled into products people can use. It has even made life easy for us.
For women in Katong, oyster harvesting is not easy work. Long before sunrise, many of them begin preparing for hours of work inside the mangroves. Some walk long distances before reaching the riverbanks, where they board small canoes to begin harvesting. Among them is Hadijata.
The oysters are very important, and they have really benefited us financially. When we cook them for consumption, they are also very good health-wise. We thank God.
But she says the work comes with many challenges.
The work is very tedious. We wake up around 6 a.m. and sometimes there is no vehicle, so we walk to this place. When we get here, we put on our clothes, take the canoes, and go to harvest oysters. Sometimes the water rises up to our chest and even beyond that. When the tides are too high, we do not enter the water because it's scary.
Using small hand rakes and tongs, the women search carefully through the mangroves for oysters attached to roots and submerged surfaces.
When we finish harvesting, we come back and cook the oysters before opening the shells. That part is also a lot of work. Sometimes we spend the whole day here.
While oyster harvesting remains one of their main source of income, the recycling of shells is slowly creating another stream of income for the women. After completing their training, the women displayed their handicrafts during a festival in Katong. Here is Madame Demba again.
We took our products there and sold them. We were very happy because everything we took was sold out. We want to extend our appreciation to the FAO because without their intervention, we would not have known the benefits of the shells.
Still, the process of turning shells into finished products is not always easy.
The challenge we face is when we are shaping the shells into finished products. We use brushes to modify them, and sometimes we get wounded in the process.
She says they have now been provided with face masks and protective glasses to help reduce injuries during work. Across coastal communities in the Gambia, oyster harvesting continues to support many women and their families. And as communities continue searching for new ways to protect the environment while supporting livelihoods, initiatives like this could also be replicated in other parts of the country where mangroves and oyster harvesting remain part of daily life. Reporting for QTV News, I am Julden.
Next, we have international news. Gambians have welcomed the new zero-tariff duty-free access for nearly 100% of tariff lines from May 2026. The move benefits 53 African countries with diplomatic ties to China. Entrepreneurs in the Gambia have highlighted challenges they face while doing business in the Chinese market. Here is my report. The policy, which runs until April 2028, removes custom duties on nearly all goods exported from eligible African countries into China. The one country not on the list is Eswatini, which has diplomatic ties with Taiwan. China considers a part of its sovereign territory. Experts believe the move could help African nations reduce their long-standing dependence on exporting raw materials by creating opportunities for value-added products to access one of the world's largest markets. However, while the policy eliminates custom duties, it does not mean exporters will pay nothing. Costs such as shipping, product certification, logistics, and local taxes still apply. For many Gambian entrepreneurs, these additional costs remain a major concern. Mariama Cham, an entrepreneur, says navigating the Chinese market comes with challenges.
The charges they are giving us for the container, even only container in China, definitely is too much. Because if you want to take your own container, one container can go up to $7,500, excluding Gambia. When it comes to Gambia also, they charge you more than $500,000 for one container. That's too much.
Despite these difficulties, Mariama says China remains an attractive market for business opportunities.
Business in China is very easy. One thing is just the language to translate, that's all. But if you have your guide, and most of them, they can try English. If you buy your goods in China, I don't think there's any cheating in China, to my side.
Another entrepreneur, Aissatou Sarr, says she is hoping for more affordable and convenient ways to import goods from China.
Free trade with China? Yes. For me, I focus on kids' clothing. That's what I'm more into. I need a lot because I'm always learning. I need to gain more experience in cases where you won't even need to go to China, and the goods will arrive here. It is not always easy to pay for flight tickets to go there. That would help a lot.
For Aissatou, in addition to travel costs, accommodation in China is another big challenge. Despite this, she says she still prefers doing business there because the variety of products and opportunities available. While the Zero Tariff Initiative offers hope for increased trade between Africa and China, many entrepreneurs say more support is needed to address logistical and financial barriers that continue to limit small businesses from fully benefiting from the policy. For now, business owners remain optimistic that the policy could open new doors for Gambian products in the Chinese market. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jacqueline Goli. Sports News. The Gambia suffered a 3-1 defeat to World Cup-bound Iran in international friendly played in Antalya, Turkey on Friday. But beyond the results itself, the match has generated plenty of discussions among Gambian football fans, with several key players absent from the squad and coach Jonathan McKinstry openly expressing his frustration afterwards. Adedrame reports.
The friendly formed part of Iran's preparations for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, with the Asian giants using the match to sharpen their squad ahead of football's biggest tournament. Already qualified for the World Cup, Iran are currently holding a training camp in Antalya and viewed the encounter against the Scorpions as an important part of their final preparations. For the Gambia, meanwhile, the fixture offered another opportunity to test themselves against high-level opposition as preparations continue for upcoming international assignments. Ahead of the match, head coach Jonathan McKinstry spoke about the value of facing a side of Iran's quality.
Over the last year, we've done our best to organise, friendly matches in every window. We've looked to take on high-ranking opponents. We've looked to take on opponents that play different styles of football, so that when we come to the AFCON qualifiers in September, that we're ready for anything that, Ghana, Ivory Coast or Somalia can throw at us.
The Scorpions made an encouraging start and looked organised against a team ranked among Asia's strongest football nations. However, there was an early setback when striker Adama Sidibe was forced off through injury in the 30th minute, with Adama Bojang coming on in his place. Despite that disruption, the Gambia struck first. In the 42nd minute, Ibrahim Akoli produced a brilliant run down the flank before delivering a low cross into the box where captain Omar Koli was perfectly placed to tap home and give the Scorpions a deserved 1-0 lead. That goal capped an impressive first-half display from McKinstry's men, who went into the break with the advantage. However, Iran responded immediately after the restart. Just 2 minutes into the second half, Arya Yousefi found the equaliser to bring the World Cup qualifiers back into the contest. Suddenly, the momentum had shifted. Veteran defender Ramin Rezain completed the turnaround in the 59th minute before Inter Milan striker Mehdi Taremi added a third goal 9 minutes later, sealing a 3-1 victory for the Asian side. Despite the defeat, there were positives for Gambian football, with Karamba Gassama and Elvin Mendy both making their senior international debuts following their first call-ups to the national team. Away from the action on the pitch, many Gambian supporters were left asking questions about the number of players unavailable for this fixture. Among those absent were Ibrahim Ajaju, Abubakar Sedi Kinte, Alaji Sen, Abubakar Bari, Yankuba Minte, Aliou Fadera, Suleiman Kamara, Abdoulaye Sanyang and Babukar Tambedu. Speaking after the match, Coach McKinstry did not hide his disappointment over this situation.
And so now you're in a situation where those 6 players will not be joining us. And then we had a couple of withdrawals. A couple of players had family issues that came up. Look, for me, family always comes first. I've said that to the players. If football is ahead of family, I think you've got your priorities wrong, and that should apply to everyone. And so a couple of people had last-minute family things come up. And look, there's another couple, I will admit, I'm not going to name them, but there's another couple we'll have to have a conversation with, because we expected them and they weren't here. So that frustrates me, and there will ultimately be a resolution to that.
The Scorpions coach also reflected on the Gambians' upcoming AFCON qualifying campaign after a draw many observers believe would provide a stern test for the national team.
It's a group that I'm really pleased to be in because, look, we're trying to realign our ambitions with the team. And that's not to say we take it casually, but for us, we don't want to go back to AFCON just to enjoy the party. For us, obviously, Gambia have experience of going deep in the tournament before, a few editions ago, and we want to make sure that the Gambia are regularly quarterfinalists, semi-finalists, or more at the Cup of Nations. Now, in order to do that, you've got to be able to mix it with the best on the continent and win.
While this result ultimately went Iran's way, the match provided valuable minutes for several Gambian players and another opportunity to assess the squad ahead of important fixtures to come. But for many fans, the biggest talking point may not be the scoreline itself, but the questions surrounding the players who never made it onto the pitch. For Qtv News, I am Ade Darame.
And before we end, let's recap the headlines. President Barrow today welcomed Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, who was in Banjul on a day-long working visit. Almost no details emerge about the exact purpose of the visit, and details of discussions between the two leaders remained undisclosed. Gambian pilgrims have performed the Hajj Tawaf in Mecca, marking the conclusion of 2026 Hajj. His Excellency President Adama Barrow on Friday accepted the resignation of the Chief of Defence Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Mamat O.H. with immediate effect. The President has also appointed Major General Usman Gomez as Acting Chief of Defence Staff. In international news, Gambian entrepreneurs have welcomed the new zero-tariff duty-free access for nearly 100% of tariff lines from May 2026. The move benefits 53 African countries with diplomatic ties to China. And in sports news, the Gambia suffered a 3-1 defeat to World Cup-bound Iran in an international friendly played in Atlanta, Turkey on Friday. But beyond the results itself, the match has generated plenty of discussions among Gambian football fans, with several key players absent from the squad, and coach Jonathan McKinstry openly expressing his frustrations afterwards. That's all for this bulletin. You can join us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. for a special of the Q Group of companies. Thanks for watching.